I've spent a reasonable amount of time the past couple of years covering Amazon Game Studios' New World, an ambitious upcoming MMO that will launch in the next several months. But it's funny, you know, as much as we talk about the projects Amazon has going on, there is another one that we have a tiny bit of information about. It's also an MMO and could potentially be huge, but I'm willing to bet a lot of you guys have never heard of it. So today, that's what I want to talk about. The new Lord of the Rings MMO that hopefully will be the fantasy MMO smash success so many of us are looking for. Now, I want to be clear, it's early days. There is really no such thing as gameplay footage for this MMO. So what you're looking at in the background on today's video is me playing the already existing Lord of the Rings MMO. Yeah, we're in a funny situation of talking about having two MMOs actively developed about this one IP, but the game that you're looking at back there has been out for several years. This is actually my first run with it. Kind of annoying to get in. Turned out today there was a big patch for the game and it was having downtime right when I created my account. But so to be clear, that's not particularly relevant, but it is going to be more interesting than just looking at still images for the majority of what is essentially a long audio podcast here. So let's talk about the story. Back in 2017 is really when things kick up, when Amazon bought the rights to do Lord of the Rings stuff from the Tolkien Trust. The first thing we became aware of with this was that they wanted to do a TV show. You may recall they were in a bidding war with Netflix, who were also very keen, and the two juggernauts duked it out, with Amazon winning. The TV show itself will be coming out fairly soon, I think, and because of the bidding war, I believe it is the most expensive TV show commissioned, ever. I think the price is over $1 billion, just in terms of getting the licensing and then everything else to actually make the TV show go somewhere. So there's a serious investment on that, and I hope we see something good come from it. With the success of The Witcher recently, with the closing down of Game of Thrones, and perhaps disappointment towards the end of that, I think people are hungry for a great TV show with this sort of aesthetic, and Jackson proved that this is a franchise that really has legs with the trilogy in the early 2000s. So this all started in 2017, but it's only now that the TV show is starting to film, 2020, and I'm guessing maybe next year we might see a season 1 or the year after that, depends how things go. It's important to note, though, that that TV show is restricted on its subject material, as would be anything else Amazon's doing with the property, and I'll come back to this in just a second. So, let's assume it's a couple of years forward now. Lord of the Rings is in popular culture again. That would be amazing for me, as since Jackson's trilogy, I've been a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I really haven't had much to sink into lately, though we've had a few good games. And, well, in that climate, it would make a lot of sense to have a really good MMO, wouldn't it? And that's exactly what Amazon are gearing to do. They announced this project rather quietly. It's not like there's loads of concept art floating around. It's really just a few statements that things are underway. How this overlaps with the fact we have an existing MMO, well, shouldn't be too big of a deal. They're releasing in very different eras of MMO development, so you could expect them to be quite different. But also, like the TV show, this MMO is restricting what it can talk about, while the existing one is literally set right there during the main events of the 3 novels, The Lord of the Ring, in the Third Age. Like, I believe in some of the expansions, you can actually meet various members of the Fellowship after they've left the Shire, and kind of geek out about those specific events. This TV show and this MMO are not in the Third Age at all. They're set way, way, way before it in the Second Age, and aren't allowed to do anything that would specifically go against canon. Now, I think most of us as nerds out there in the audience are happy to hear this. You want to feel like everything cohesively builds together, but that does mean they're even more likely to be interested in telling stories and taking us to places that we really have very little established information about from Professor Tolkien himself. So, let's talk about the Second Age real quick. What is the lore here? What's going on? Well, the Second Age is thousands of years before the Third, and it's a region of time, as far as I understand it right now, that is principally concerned with the actual creation of the One Ring, the creation of the Rings of Power. Certain characters and entities that you're familiar with from the Third Age stories definitely could exist here, and we might be able to interact with in small ways, but this is a massive period of time, set a massive period of time before most of what you think of when you think Lord of the Rings. I think the age itself lasts over 3,000 years. And we really don't know when the TV show or the MMO will slot themselves into this space of time. So really, they have a lot of free reign to do whatever they want. I will note as well, here's a really important thing, that the TV show and the MMO have been explicitly stated to not necessarily be connected, all right? So they've got this huge time period of 3,000 years. You might find that the TV show is at the beginning of that window and the MMO is at the end of that window, and we're dealing with entirely different events and entirely different characters and so on. There's not an explicit collaboration going on here where you'll be able to play the MMO to interact with characters you saw in the TV show. That's not what they're going for. It would be kind of nice if there were little things like that, and I'm not sure there's any reason that they absolutely can't do it. If we assume that the TV show is going to be a success, then surely the MMO could just supplement that, and then vice versa too. Though obviously the MMO is always going to be way less populated than some kind of big TV series. But they aren't necessarily related. It's just they both are under the same sorts of restrictions, and both will probably be second age products. Right, so that's really the idea, what they're going for. The thing I'm really interested in moving forward with the video is who's making this game. What do we really know about the companies involved? And it turns out this is actually quite complicated. There are 3 big companies that we have to talk about here, and we can maybe infer a little bit by snooping around on their websites and seeing what they say about themselves. I think the first place to start really is the initial announcement, which was a studio called Athlon Games, which is a subsidiary of Hong Kong-based Leyou Technologies Incorporated, I think. They are going to be doing the game, all right? Athlon Games, owned by Leyou. So let's talk about Leyou. Leyou are in Hong Kong, but they're focused on global game experiences, and they've acquired a ton of properties recently that you will be familiar with. Mostly free-to-play experiences, and I would assume the MMO has some kind of a free-to-play branch, seeing how most MMOs go now, and mostly PC gaming things. So here, for example, they own Splash Damage, who mostly are involved in making multiplayers and maps experiences for other franchises, like they were associated with Wolfenstein. I think they all on their own did Brink, if you remember that from the mid-2010s. They did some Gears of War stuff. They did some stuff with the Halo Master Chief Collection. Well, that's Splash Damage. They're owned by Leyou. Digital Extremes, who you probably know mostly because of the game Warframe, also owned by Leyou. Leyou also are a shareholder and a publishing partner of LCG Entertainment. You might have heard of LCG Entertainment because they bought all the stuff that Telltale had done after the initial Telltale went bust or whatever. I didn't really follow that too closely. But again, this leads back to Leyou. So Leyou has their fingers in a lot of things you probably have heard of. But one of their subsidiaries is this Athlon Games. And for them, well, I don't know, guys. I mean, they're listed on Wiki as being a publisher of sorts, but there isn't much more to say. Like, I can't tie a specific experience to them. And if you go to their actual website, it looks like this MMO is most of their identity right now. Like, you go to their website and it's a map of Arda, right? You can see the Lord of the Rings map right there. And they don't talk about much specifically, really. I'm going to quote you straight from their website here. Who we are. Athlon Games is a global developer and publisher of free-to-play console and PC games. We're headquartered in Los Angeles. We have offices also in London and Beijing. Athlon Games is a subsidiary of Leyou Technology Holdings Limited. Our philosophy is to create AAA, cooperative, console PC experiences that gamers will want to play for many years. Now, they're all positives, of course. A AAA MMO, a AAA Lord of the Rings MMO people want to think about. The 2 big arenas for these kinds of experience, console, PC, both covered there, and played for many years. I mean, that's an MMO, right? You get invested in MMO for many, 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 many months in a row, if it's a good one. We believe great games come from great communities where everyone has a voice. We believe our games should be of the highest quality, created by the industry's best global talent, and we believe our games should surprise and delight our fans every day, week, month, year, and beyond. Our approach to games, well, that they're built to last. We make games that people want to play for many years, where there's always something new to discover. Quality is in our DNA, created by the industry's best global talent. Immersive worlds, unmatched gameplay for beginners and veterans, they say. Community first. Every game we make is a unique collaboration between the developer and the games community. And then they say this about partnerships. Our approach for developer partnerships is simple. We will work closely with you to hone your free-to-play console or PC expertise using our years of knowledge in this space while giving you the autonomy to create and execute your game vision. We're seeking ambitious developers looking to create experiences that will live and grow for many years to come. If you are a console or PC developer interested in learning free-to-play, we'd love to talk. So, you notice how at the end, it really sounds like they don't have much of a portfolio, and what they're looking to do is collaborate with people to produce these experiences. Well, at last, that is where we come to Amazon. So, this was all announced, and then just a few months ago, maybe half a year ago, it was revealed that the people they were going to collaborate with for the Lord of the Rings MMO was Athlon Games Studios itself, with all of their pull and all of their money and so on. So that is what forms the MMO project. It's kind of juggled between these two different studios. I wonder whose responsibilities are on what. And so Amazon starts talking about the project. Now we get some more juicy quotes. And once you've read these, you're kind of caught up. After this, the media falls very silent. Here's what Amazon had to say. We are committed to bringing customers games of the highest quality, both of our original IPs as well as beloved cultural pillars like The Lord of the Rings. This is from Christoph Hartmann, the VP at Amazon Game Studios. Tolkien's Middle-earth is one of the richest fictional worlds in history. It gives our team of experienced MMO developers from the same studio developing New World tremendous opportunity to play and create. We have a strong leadership team in place to helm this new project, and we're actively growing our team to help build this incredible experience. So New World mentioned there. If you guys have been watching my coverage of New World, I did talk a little bit about a theory people have that New World's getting pushed out quicker so that a lot of the talent on New World can then look at this Lord of the Rings thing even faster. Here we see on the other end, they are talking about the same studio developing New World, maybe doing stuff to do with this. Bringing Middle-earth to life necessitates having the very best partners. Amazon's customer obsession, technology, and talented teams make it the ideal choice to co-develop and publish, said Alex Yu of Leyou. We believe our combined resources and expertise will result in a beautiful and compelling game that customers will love and play for years to come. So that's their half of it. And I have one final quote here, this time from someone over at Middle-earth Enterprises. A Fredrika Drotos, possibly said their name wrong, Chief Brand and Licensing Officer. They say, who among us hasn't wanted to take part in an epic adventure? More than 60 years after the publication of the Fellowship of the Ring, we're delighted that Amazon Game Studios has partnered with Leyou to bring their respective expertise to build a much-anticipated game that will immerse us in the beloved epic world of Middle-earth envisioned by Professor Tolkien. That last quote is honestly not of so much value to me. It seems completely bland and generic, totally the kind of thing you just cook up for a press release. Doesn't seem to have any acknowledgement to the fact, none of these people are talking about the fact there's an existing Lord of the Rings MMO, or how things are looking on that end. Maybe if I dig enough, I can find whether there's any messages from Turbine about how they feel about this, or whether they, really feel it overlaps anyway. It does look like the setting, at least, and subject material is separate enough that they could both exist in tandem. But, you have to be scared of some kind of cannibalization in situations like this. And that's it, really. That's everything there is to know about Amazon's other big MMO project. I've been talking about New World so much, I should really talk about this. And just like with New World, as we get more information on this, I will be talking to you all about it, because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I'm a big fan of the idea of there being seriously awesome MMOs on the horizon. Being realistic, right now, as cool as the Second Age I think can be, there's really not enough to go on to figure out what type of game this will be, or whether it will really grab our enthusiasms long term. But what I will say is it looks like there's certainly enough money, talent, and enthusiasm. We could get something. It's just, do I dare to hold my breath? And so that's it really, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and feel like you're in the loop a little bit more. If you thought this was worth the watch, let me know in the comments if you'd like to hear me talk about some other MMOs I'm interested in. I'm not interested in a huge amount of them, but I do have something of a shortlist. A couple that maybe are not on your radar at all. And I'm kind of excited to just freely and openly talk about that stuff at last. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you for more tomorrow.